We are back with a brand new video. Today's video, it is that time, man. It is the time for the mock draft episode. The lottery finished yesterday. I was super excited for the lottery. Congrats to the Magic for getting the number one pick. And I worked on my mock draft today. I'm pretty happy with it, but I'm going to be showing it to you guys using Fanspo's mock draft simulator. This website is pretty popular for drafts. A lot of draft content people use this website, but I'll put it in the description if you guys want to create your own mock draft. I'm doing a first round mock draft in this video. Obviously using the NBA draft and then using the ESPN draft board. I guess I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because I've already made my picks beforehand. But yeah, let's get right into it, man. Let's start the draft. Without further ado, this is me putting myself in every GM's position in the first round and not predicting what they would do, but kind of giving my suggestions as to what I would do if I was in their shoes. So that's very important to realize. I'm not predicting that the Magic will take whoever with the number one overall pick. I am saying that I would take blah blah blah, and we'll get to it with the number one overall pick and so on and so forth. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below what you want your favorite team to do in the draft. Let's get right into it. So we started the draft with the number one overall pick. The Orlando Magic will select. Now, I think it's a consensus that it's between one of these three. I don't think you can really go wrong. But I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren, man. I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren. Defensive purposes, I think that he feels, obviously Jabari Smith is also a very good defender, but I think that Chet Holmgren is a bit bigger and he has a longer wingspan. And protecting that rim, that defense would be crazy with him, Franz Wagner, either Wendell Carter or Jonathan Isaac at that 4 position. I think Mo Bamba is an unrestricted free agent this season, so I think you got to go with Chet Holmgren. Best player available, I mean, it's debatable, but I think him and Jalen Suggs played in high school together. You got to reunite the boys, and you got to take what a lot of people believe that he is the best player available. So I'm gonna go with Chet Holmgren, number 1. At number 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder actually jumped up by a couple of spots from where they were projected. I think they were projected to have the number 4 pick before the draft lottery. They have the number 2 pick. I'm gonna go with Jabari Smith Jr., man. I think this is a great pick for them. Jabari Smith is one of my favorites in this draft. Super high upside. This guy can create a shot from anywhere on the floor. His pull-up jump shot reminds a lot of people of Kevin Durant's pull-up jump shot, but he can also defend not only at the rim but also switch out onto the perimeter. And I think he's a great guy for OKC to have in that much needed, that front court needs. As you can see right here, it'll tell you the team needs for each team, and it's very glaring that the OKC Thunder need small forward, power forward, and center depth. So we got to go Jabari Smith. And then for the Rockets, man, you kind of just take whoever's not taken. If Chet and Jabari get taken, Paolo Banchero is the obvious pick. I know a lot of people try to mix it up and go, other guys, but those are the consensus top 3 for a reason. And you got to play it safe if you're the Rockets, and take the 3 best players of either of the 3 best players available. So I'm gonna go Paolo Banchero. Again, you can't be mad at this pick, and I think it makes the Rockets' job easier, and it lets them, it reduces the chances of them messing up in this draft, because you basically have one of the best 3 players available at your disposal, no matter who it is. But in this case, it's going to be Banchero. With the number 4 overall pick, this is where the drama starts. Everyone knew that the top 3 was going to be probably the top 3 in this draft, unless people, had variations here or there. But mostly, it was pretty telling that those 3 were going to be the top 3 in this draft. For the Sacramento Kings, though, a lot of people have Jaden Ivey going there. A lot of people have Keegan Murray going there. I'm actually not going in either of those directions. I'm going with the guy, because with Sacramento, man, you need not only do you need a home run pick here, because your franchise has been absolute garbage for how many ever years. No disrespect, Sac fans, but I'm just keeping it a buck right now. But you also need to fill up those seats in Sacramento. You got to get those fans excited. You got to bring some spark to that organization. Shaedon Sharpe is the perfect guy for both of those things. He fits. He's an electric player. He can make a case for him being the best scorer in this draft. He's like the Jalen Green from last year, basically. That's basically what he is. And the reason I went him over Ivy is that because I don't think you can really play Ivy and Fox together, because Fox cannot play off the ball and Ivy will need the ball in his hands. I think that Shaedon Sharpe can be an off-ball player. He's a shooting guard. If you want to play a 3-guard lineup with him, Fox, and Davion, you can do that. I'm gonna go Shaedon Sharpe at number 4. Pretty unpopular pick. Haven't seen anyone make that pick yet. in like the 5 or 6 mock drafts that I saw, but I'm gonna do it just because it's what I would do. And then at number 5, Detroit, man. Detroit actually took an L because they were actually projected to have a top 3 pick, but they fell all the way down to 5. But I don't think this is going to be an L pick for them. I'm going to go Jaden Ivey. I think Jaden Ivey is a perfect pick for them. I think at here, he's the best player available at number 5. And I think you can pair him alongside Cade because unlike the Sacramento situation, I think Cade can play off the ball much better than De'Aaron Fox. And then you have Jaden Ivey. That backcourt is set for the future. You can have Killian Hayes come off the bench. He did a lot better in the second half of the season when he was handling the second unit. And then you still have guys like Saddiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart for the future. You can bolster up that front court in future drafts and see what you do with Jerami Grant. But I'm going to go with Jaden Ivey at number 4 or number 5 to Detroit. I know a lot of people wanted him to go to Indiana. Okay, what did I just do? Oh, I think I accidentally went Keegan Murray for Indiana. I mean, I was going to do that anyway, but I think I double-clicked on accident because it moved me straight to Portland. But I'm just going to give my reasoning for Keegan Murray. I'm sorry, guys. That was my mistake. Well, it wasn't really a mistake because, like I said, Keegan Murray was going to be my pick for Indiana anyway. But I think, for Indiana, Keegan Murray, you can make a case that he was the best player in college basketball last year. He's a great pick and roll and pick and pop partner for Tyrese Halliburton, who is a very underrated playmaker. And I think he really fits, that the front court of Indiana. Him and Miles together defensively is absolutely dope. That's why I didn't send him to Sacramento. A lot of people wanted to send him to Sacramento. I didn't like him and Sabonis. I like him and Miles. I really do like him and Miles together in the front court. And you still have shooting like Hio, Duarte, who can score. You have Tyrese. So the future's looking bright for Indiana if they hit this pick. Moving on to number 7, we have the Portland Trailblazers. Here, I'm going to go with probably the best 3-and-D prospect available, which is AJ Griffin, and probably the best prospect available in general. This guy, I'm assuming they're going to keep Damian Lillard because he hasn't really indicated that he wants to leave, and they have indicated that they want to build around him and try to, push for another championship, run. But, well, they didn't even have a championship run, but you know what I mean. They made it to the Western Conference Finals and that. But AJ Griffin is a really good 3-and-D player to put alongside him, and I do think that he's the best prospect available right now. So I'm gonna go AJ Griffin. At number 8, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and here this is very interesting. A lot of people have been going different directions with this pick. I'm gonna go with Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona, or Ben Mathurin, whatever you want to call him. He's my favorite prospect in this draft. I think he is an absolute stud. I think people see him as a 3-and-D player, but I think his offense is a lot more better than people give him credit for. And I think his offense is actually better than his defense. And I think if his defense can catch up to his offense, you can see like a Jaylen Brown type, arc from Ben Mathurin. He really put on a show in that first game against TCU in the tournament, or it might have been first, or I think it was the second game because they beat the 16th seed and they beat TCU in the second round, or in the round of 32. But I'm gonna go Ben Mathurin with number 8. I think all he has to do is be a catch and shoot player with the Pelicans, but he doesn't have to do too much. But moving on in his future, I think that's where you're gonna ask him to handle the ball a little bit more. Number 9, man, I think this is probably one of the easiest picks in the draft for me. The Spurs, man, I think Jalen Duren has been mocked to them a lot, and I do think this is a very good, mock for them. Jalen Duren is the best center available. He's the best center. I mean, if you want to count Chet, Paolo, and Jabari as power forwards, he's probably the best center in the draft for sure. But I think he is a man-child, man. He is a guy who's, a lot of people have been giving him Bam/Dwight Howard comparisons, and I can see it. I can really see it. Defensively, this guy's an animal. He protects the rim like no other. He gets up. He's a lob threat. He's the prototypical center. Like he like Bam, man. Bam can switch onto the perimeter, but I do think that Jalen Duren's switchability is underrated. I do think his playmaking is underrated. And I think the only thing that held him back was his motor. And I think in San Antonio you have a guy like Popovich who can get that in check. So we're gonna go Jalen Duren at number 9. And then moving on to number 10, Washington Wizards get a steal, in my opinion. Johnny Davis at 10 is a very good pick for them. And that's who I'm going, Johnny Davis. I do think that they need some guard depth. And I do think that, if Beal not requests a trade, but if he opts out of his player option, then you're probably not going to bring him back or whatever. We'll see what happens with Beal, but I do think that Johnny Davis can run with Beal in the backcourt if you need him to. They don't really have a point guard right now who I think is solidified. So I'm going to go with Johnny Davis at 10. And then at number 11, we got the New York Knicks, man. I'm going to go with Dyson Daniels. A lot of Knicks fans do not want a point guard, but Dyson Daniels is like a combo guard to me. I think defensively, he brings a different dynamic to that team. You can have RJ at the 3, start Dyson Daniels, and whoever you want at the 2, whether that be Quickly or Quentin Grimes. Have Alec Burks and Evan Fournier be backups if you want them to. But yeah, I think Dyson Daniels is a very smart player, probably one of the highest IQ players in the draft. This guy rarely makes a mistake. He's not a turnover-prone point guard. He's defensively, he's very, very solid, and that's probably his biggest strength is his defense. And I do think that he's just a guy who has a high floor in this league, and I think that's what the New York Knicks need because they've been missing out a lot of picks lately. At number 12, we have the OKC Thunder. I'm actually going to go with Ousmane Dieng here, Ousmane Dieng, whatever you want to call him. This guy is a boom or bust pick. I don't want to put that on him, but he's a guy who has very high upside, but his floor is not that high. He's a project. That's what he is, and I do think that he's a point forward. So if you need some playmaking there, I do think that the Thunder have nothing but time to develop these guys, and I think Ousmane is a guy who can, if you give him the right tools and if you be patient with him, he can develop into a very solid player. So that's why I'm going to go with the Thunder. At number 13, the Charlotte Hornets are up. We got to go with the big for the Hornets, man. Like every year, it seems like the Hornets, we always mock a center to the Hornets and they never take one. It's time that they take a center. We got to go Mark Williams. I think this is a no-brainer. If you're a Hornets fan, you're probably going to agree with me because, your center position is so weak right now. Trez is good, but Mason Plumlee is not like a starting caliber center, in my opinion, on a playoff team. And I think Mark Williams is a great lob threat for LaMelo. He's a freak. Mark Williams is. So I really like that pick for the the Charlotte Hornets. At number 14, the Cleveland Cavaliers are up. I'm actually going to go with Ochai Agbaji to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think the Cavaliers are trying to push towards a playoff position, and I think that all they need is guys who can play their roles around Sexton, Garland. If Sexton, I don't know what the future with Sexton is, but Garland for sure. Karis LeVert is still there, but Ochai Agbaji is probably one of the most NBA-ready players in this draft. He's the Desmond Bane of this draft class. I keep saying it. All he has to do is catch and shoot and play defense because that's all he's going to be asked to do in Cleveland. I think this is a great fit for him. Number 15, we got the Charlotte Hornets again. I think they still do have to bolster up their front court because I think, this doesn't show it, but I think Miles Bridges is gone. I really don't think that I think that he's going to leave in free agency. Detroit is an option. Portland is an option. And, I do think that you need a guy like Jeremy Sohan who can switch, who can stretch the floor for LaMelo if he drives and kicks. You have him and Mark Williams as your future front court. I really love that for them. So I'm going to go Jeremy Sohan for the Hornets. Moving on to the Hawks, man, I do think that they need a guy for the future next to Trae Young who can defend at a high level as well as shoot the ball. And that's not Kevin Huerter. It's clearly not Bogdanovic because defensively they're both big liabilities. I'm going to go with Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. He's a really good player defensively, and he can also fill it up offensively if you need him to. This also allows you to, let go or explore a possible trade for Bogdanovic or Huerter if you need to, because, it's no use having both of them on your team. I know they both provide different skill sets, but they're both basically perimeter threats who can't defend. And Malachi Branham can for sure defend. 17, we got the Houston Rockets. We got to go with Ty Washington. I've wanted the Rockets to go with a pure point guard all season long last season. They tried Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. is not a point guard. I think they asked Kevin Porter Jr. to play a role that he's not used to. And as a result, he struggled at times. And I do think that Ty Washington is probably the best, as far as facilitating point guard, probably the best point guard in the draft. If you ask for, a guy who can facilitate for you. This is a dude who had, multiple 10 assist games. He's a Kentucky guy. We got to remember, Kentucky guys usually sacrifice some of their game in order for the team to win. They don't really show a lot. We've seen guys like Tyler Hero, Jamal Murray, Bam Adebayo. Like these guys haven't shown their full packages at college, but in the NBA, they've shown that they can be a lot more than what they showed in college. And Ty Washington, I believe, is one of those guys. So he's going to go at number 17. At number 18, Chicago Bulls are up, man. I do think that they need a big. I think they need a guy, a center. I think they need some size, man. I think they do need some size. We're gonna go Walker Kessler from Auburn. This guy is a very good defender. I think a lot of people compare him to like a Rudy Gobert, but I do think he can move his feet a lot better than Rudy Gobert can. Well, maybe I'm sleeping on Rudy Gobert's feet movement, but I do think that Walker Kessler is a very good rim protector for a fact. So I'm gonna go with Walker Kessler to the Chicago Bulls. Then we got the Timberwolves here. We got to go defense. The Timberwolves defense had improved after Beverly came in, Patrick Beverly, but they're still missing defense in the front court. And Tari Eason might be the best defender in the draft. This guy is a defensive freak. He's a absolute, man-child defensively. Like what this guy can do on the defensive end is ridiculous. So we're gonna go Tari Eason out of LSU, and that'll bolster up their defense. Then we got to go with number 20. We got to go with a international prospect, man. This guy with the San Antonio Spurs. It's very fitting that the Spurs take an international player because they always seem to get a guy from overseas in one of their drafts. So I'm gonna go Nikola Jovic, not Jokic, but Nikola Jovic, man. This guy is a very high upside player. Defensively, he's not it. I'll admit that, but offensively, he has a lot of skills that Popovich can play with. If he stays as coach of the Spurs, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but that's who we're going to go with. At number 21, we got the Nuggets taking Marjon Beauchamp out of the G League Ignite. Defensive specimen. This guy can defend at a high level. He can finish at the rim. His shot is the only questionable part of his game, but if he gets that going, man, he can be a very scary player in the future. So we're going to go Beauchamp to the Nuggets. Memphis Grizzlies are up next. And to the Grizzlies, we're going to go with probably one of the best scorers in the draft, and that is Jaden Hardy, if we can even find him. Jaden Hardy to the Grizzlies, man. I do think that the Grizzlies sometimes miss a guy who can create his own shot down the stretch when Ja is not really on. Desmond Bane is as good of a season that he had. I don't think he's a guy that you put the ball in his hands and he creates his own shot off the dribble. I think he's more of a catch and shoot type player, one dribble pull up type player. Same with Dillon Brooks. Jaden Hardy can create his own shot out of nothing. So we're going to go Jaden Hardy to the Grizzlies. Brooklyn Nets, we got to go Blake Wesley. I'm very surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because it's my mock draft, but it's kind of crazy that he fell this far in my mock. But this guy is a stud. He's a very good player. And I really like him, man. I'm a huge fan of Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame. Defensively he's good. Offensively he's good. And he can go really well with KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons. We're going to go Blake Wesley here. 24th overall pick, Milwaukee Bucks. I still do think that they need to fill up that backup point guard position. George Hill is not it. Javon Carter did not play that much apart from when George Hill was injured. We're going to go Kennedy Chandler. I think Kennedy Chandler is a very high IQ player. He's one of my favorite players in the draft. He's a little bit undersized. Like it says 6'1", but he might even be like 5'11", 6 feet. But he plays a lot bigger than what he is. So we're going to go with Kennedy Chandler here. And then with number 25, we have the San Antonio Spurs again. And here we got to go with Bryce McGowens. This guy, another guy who's, I don't know how he's ranked 28 on this big board, but he should be, a lot higher on this big board. He's a very good, player, freshman out of Nebraska, shooting guard, Bryce McGowens here. And then 26, man, the Mavericks. This is where we go with the big, because as you can see, center position is very high need for them. And we're actually going to go, if I can even find him, Christian Koloko. He's number 38 on the big board, but don't let that fool you. This guy's a very high athleticism, lob threat. And he is a very, very high flying, explosive player, in the pick and roll. And him and Luka is going to be nasty if they take him. So Christian Koloko at 26. I think who is this? Is this the Heat? Yeah, 27. We have the Heat. EJ Liddell is going to go here. EJ Liddell fell all the way because I don't really think a team needed a power forward, but the Heat definitely need a power forward replacement for like PJ Tucker when he retires. EJ Liddell is like a very watered down version of PJ Tucker. Not saying he's not going to be better, but he reminds me of PJ Tucker, Paul Millsap, that fire hydrant type power forward who plays a lot bigger than what he is. So EJ Liddell will go 27. And then at 28, we have the Golden State Warriors. Where is my guy? Where is my guy for the Warriors? Can I even find him? Okay, I don't know how this dude is 43 again. John Montero, very high IQ point guard, man. extremely high IQ point guard. We're gonna go with him. You know, off the bench. I think Poole is more of a shooting guard. He's more of a scorer, but Montero is a playmaker, and I think he can really get players involved. They took 2 wings in the last draft. I don't think they're gonna go wing. They could go big, but they still have James Wiseman to develop. So I think you got to go with the point guard. He can be a backup to Steph Curry. Montero will be the pick. And then at 29 and 30, we got Kendall Brown going to the Memphis Grizzlies for defense. He is a raw prospect, though. He's not. I don't think he's necessarily that NBA ready, but I do think the Grizzlies don't really need I mean, they have a lot of wings already, so they can just develop this guy under the radar and, you know, hopefully turns out to be something. But he is a guy who a lot of people have him going in the first round, freshman from Baylor. And then another guy who had a tough college season, but I do think that he will bounce back in the right situation for him. Patrick Baldwin Jr., man. Patrick Baldwin Jr. He's going to go at number 30. And that's going to conclude the mock draft, man. There's some guys that I really wanted to take, but I wasn't able to, like Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. He was one of my favorite prospects. I'm super high on Jalen Williams. Like him, Ismail Kamagate, Christian Brown. I really wanted to take these guys, but unfortunately, I just couldn't because this draft is actually very deep towards the back end. But this is basically what my draft is, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my video. If you guys, like I said, if you're a fan of any of these teams, let me know if, you know, I messed up any of your picks. Be respectful now. Don't be out here, you know, getting heated that I made a mock draft and you didn't like it. Like, it's just a mock draft, bro. At the end of the day, I'm not a genie. I can't predict who's going to take what. This is just who I would take if I was a GM of all these teams. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the video, man. Like I said, let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about it, what your favorite teams should do. And I'm super excited for that time of the year, man. We'll see y'all later as always. Peace.